Hi there, guys, and welcome to a special edition of the Cover Zero Roundtable. With me today, we've got Arnie.
Hi, guys.
And
Hello
Dan.
there.
So today, the plan was simply to go through the playoff matchups, discuss how we think they're going to go, give you guys some predictions. But we got a couple of announcements have been made fairly recently. First off, we'll go with the one that's just been announced. Apparently, Gruden is going to be announced as the Raiders' new head coach as of Tuesday. So we've already talked about this a fair bit. I think we assumed this was going to be the case earlier in the week. What do you guys think of this hire?
Yeah, I think, well, the Raiders needed it. I mean, offensively speaking as well, they were playing really poorly this year, under a year that they were supposed to be a dominant offense. So they definitely needed it.
Yeah, see, I just see that this just strikes me as a move of desperation.
Why desperation?
Is everyone suddenly forgotten that the Oakland Raiders aren't going to be the Oakland Raiders for much longer?
What's that got to do with the coaching hire?
I mean, it's not the most talented roster in the league. It's good. It's not. You know, we're not talking Rams level of talented.
I'd argue it's a more talented roster.
Put it this way. Put it this way. How do you think the market would react to the Raiders moving to Las Vegas on the backs of 2 losing seasons? Not favourably, I suspect.
I do take issue with that. Rams being more talented. I think the Raiders have more talent than the Rams.
I think the Rams are more talented on defense. Their wide receivers can actually catch the ball. They have an MVP caliber running back. They have a quarterback who's performed better this year, and they have the better coaching staff.
The Raiders have a superior O-line, a superior quarterback. I would say the receivers this year were just a massive disappointment, but it's probably an overall more talented group.
We all know the talent's there. It's just, I'm pretty sure they will. Our biggest disappointment on the year.
Defensively, I think, yes, there's a little bit more talent with the Rams, but I think overall, there's maybe not much between these rosters.
No, but
I think the Raiders, I'd edge with them just because of the quality of the offensive line and the more proven commodity at the quarterback position.
Yeah, granted, but as I said, in a sense, I mean, they are desperate to win. Anyway, I mean, Gruden makes sense as a hire. He was great in Tampa, bar drafting. He was good when he was with the Raiders.
I would say he was great. He was okay.
Either way,
he was all right.
But as I said, the fact that they're moving the franchise to Vegas probably also has a big deal of pressure on getting the team up to scratch, as it were.
I just think Jack Del Rio has never really been a particularly inspiring head coach. He's a defensive guy. That was the biggest issue this year. This hire makes sense to me from the perspective of your strength is the offense. I think in terms of what Gruden wants to do offensively, they've definitely got the pieces for that because he's a very dinky dunk, quick, short passes kind of coach. They've got receivers that are well suited to that. Amari Cooper's good after the catch. Crabtree gives him the big physical guy. They ran a power run type game in Tampa when he was there. I think, of course, Lynch, not the same player. But they've got all the pieces there. Del Rio was not able to turn that defense around in his whole time there. If there's one really solid argument for getting rid of him, I think it was that. Whether this hiring works, I don't know. It's a situation where a guy's basically coming out of retirement. Is the original passion and fire still there?
Considering he basically on a weekly basis still studies film, still does his little coaching camp, still posts videos doing coaching stuff, I'd say yes. I think.
But that's just the love of football. There's a love of coaching and there's a love of football. Because John Madden has been doing that stuff forever. And bear in mind, John Madden's probably the closest thing you've got to Gruden in terms of a career arc. retired very young, went into the broadcast booth. Now, the difference is Madden never came back, but he did all the same stuff. So we've not really got a precedent for this.
I mean, I think if anyone's likely to still have it, it's going to be Gruden.
It's going to be fun to watch at least. He makes them more interesting than Del Rio did. So also the other announcement today was of the All-Pro teams. Now, I only saw this list recently, revealed it to you guys. I actually think they got this right for the most part this year. So I'll just go through the players and you guys tell me what you think. QB, easy one, Tom Brady. Is there any question about that?
No.
I'll take that as a no. The only one I can think is if Carson Wentz hadn't got hurt, then you can have a debate.
I would agree with. Up until the season fell apart and he was asked to do way too much, I would have said Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree. But they just, end of the season, weren't good enough. Similar with Stafford. Roethlisberger started the year too slowly. Drew Brees didn't do enough this year. Didn't have to do enough to necessarily warrant it.
Yeah.
So,
speaking about
he's correct. At running back, you got Todd Gurley. Now, I would say you could argue Lev Bell, but he made the flex. So
I'm sorry, there's no dispute there. Todd Gurley all the way. Yeah, I mean, Lev Bell making him flex, yeah, cool. But if we're talking best at the position this year, no, Gurley all the way. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I think people paid more attention to Gurley this year because with Bell, he's been doing it for, forever.
Yeah, but
if you look at the numbers, they're similar. The one area where Gurley really jumps out is just the amount of touchdowns he had this year. But that, to me, is a very situational thing. I think there's an argument you could have, but I would agree. I would still have Gurley as the best running back in football this past year. I think there's more of a discussion than people maybe give it credit for because, in Gurley's case, it's more of a story. It's a bounce back year. Le'Veon Bell this year was Le'Veon Bell being Le'Veon Bell. Tight end, Rob Gronkowski. I mean, yeah, obviously. I guess maybe Travis Kelce.
I was about to say Kelce would be considered, but you can't argue against Gronk, and he played all 16 games for once, I think.
Well, Kelce made the second team, so that's fair. Alvin Kamara also made the second team, which I think would be fair because he's good at this. So yeah, no complaints so far. Who was the second team? There you go. Wentz was the second team QB. So entirely in
games.
Yeah. Receivers, Antonio Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. Absolutely. They were the two most unstoppable wideouts in football this year. And the second team, you had Julio and Adam Thielen. I'm a little bit dubious about Julio, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think he had a good year. I think that might have been given him the All-Pro because of the name.
Taken over him?
This year?
No, last year.
This year, maybe. I mean, it wasn't exactly. No, it wouldn't be Hilton. See, there were just so many games where he was quiet, and it's not necessarily his fault there. But it's a tough one. Maybe Brandon Cooks. I think Cooks had a big impact in New England. Maybe Michael Thomas for the Saints. I think he started the year a bit slow, but I think he played very well. Probably can't put AJ Green in there with how bad the Bengals were, but I don't know. It just feels like the other three are all spot on, and then I guess there's just a big drop off. Maybe even Larry Fitzgerald, actually. I'd argue Fitz probably had a better year.
I would have said Fitz, but I didn't want to be accused of being biased. Because I would.
No, I'm thinking about it. I would have took
by the way,
this year.
I also proposed something. Yeah. We need a positional change in the league. We need to have wide receiver, WR, and AB for Antonio Brown. Because, he's in a class of his own. It's ridiculous. He breaks the game.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, then you've got to do the same thing with Gronk, and it gets complicated.
I would also support doing it for Gronk. We could just call it.
And also for JJ Watt, because then, if JJ Watt gets right again, we've got to be worried he's playing the JJ Watt position. Yeah. Also, not very informative for new fans. What position does he play? He plays his own position because he's so
we
good.
Just call it OPASF. There you go, job done. Because these players are unfair. Right, they're just unfair. It's just wrong, and I don't like it. Where's my broken silly player?
Well, yeah, you had one when Fitz was in his prime. We'll move on to the O-line. Left tackle, Andrew Whitworth. If either of you guys have complaints about this, I'll tell you you're wrong and we're moving on. Same with the right tackle position, Lane Johnson in Philly. This team, we've seen when he's out how much worse they are. So, that's bang on.
We've seen how much better the Rams offense.
Oh, yeah, and how much worse the Bengals is. Whitworth is a stud, and he gets to finally capitalise on it not going to Joe Thomas. Andrew Norwell of Carolina at left guard. I think maybe you could have gone with Richie Incognito there. Still a bit of a liability in pass protection, but man, was he essential to that team. Possibly. Actually, no, I think it's got to be one of those two guys. David DeCastro, Pittsburgh, right guard, bang on, and Jason Kelsey had a real bounce back year in Philly. I'm pretty happy with that. Defensively, edge rushers, Calais Campbell and Cam Jordan. Very happy to see Jordan's name there because he was exceptional. I would have. Campbell's a tough one because he's actually made the second team as a defensive tackle and the first team as the defensive end. I'd probably put.
Has that ever happened?
I'd put Everson Griffin in it. Yeah, it happened with Khalil Mack in his rookie year. He made the All-Pro team as an outside linebacker and as a defensive end.
Oh, okay. I would put.
It's very.
I would say it's.
I would have put Everson Griffin in the first team as an edge rusher, and I'd have put Campbell in the first team as an interior lineman. Well, I can't argue with one of them's Aaron Donald because obviously. Okay. And Cam Hayward of Pittsburgh, who is deserving. He had a great year. I would have just liked to have had. I think Campbell was more dominating as an interior presence.
Campbell would have been the interior All-Pro if JJ didn't get injured.
Well, maybe. But yeah, no complaints other than that. I would have liked to see Campbell maybe replace Hayward, put Hayward in the second team and have Everson Griffin up there. Because when I think of the best speed rusher in the league this year, or best pure edge rusher, I probably think of him coming off the line. Linebackers, Chandler Jones, you're going to make it when you're the sack leader. I thought he played the run exceptionally well this year as well. His best year as a pro. Kuechly and Wagner, because it's the all-pro team. So Kuechly and Wagner, basically, as long as they don't get hurt, they're going to make it because they're just that damn good. Corners, Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Rhodes, with Darius Slay as the nickelback. Shockingly, I think they got this spot on.
Yeah, they did.
The only possible thing, maybe you could squeeze Marshawn Lattimore in there.
I was going to say, I'm surprised Lattimore's not on this.
He didn't make the second.
I mean, Ramsey had a hell of a year, as we know. Xavier Rhodes, he's awesome. And obviously Darius Slay is the tied interceptions leader, so he was always going to make it. I think Slay you can make more plays on, but because of the way the schemes work, I mean, Ramsey and Rhodes are just lockdown corners at this stage, and that's the way they're used. Whereas Slay is just a ball hawk. Like his ability to just turn games around with big turnovers is
unmatched in these last couple of years at the position, and he had another very productive year. At safety, my one complaint, Kevin Byard had a very good season in Tennessee. It's him and Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith, absolutely. Byard, maybe not in the first team for me. I'd have probably went with maybe either one of the guys in the second team, Earl Thomas or Micah Hyde. I'd probably like to have given it to Hyde as kind of a career thing because he's been exceptional this year.
I support choice, but that's just me.
He has played well, and he definitely should have made the All-Pro team, even if it's a first or a second. But I do agree with the fact that there was a lot of missed tackles. He's been very off, but he is a ball hawk.
Well, I'm under the firm belief that Tennessee defense would have been nothing without him this year. He helped so.
I don't agree with that at all. The front seven is the strength.
I'm not saying he's the strength.
Yeah.
I'm saying
you remove Casey, then yeah.
Oh God, I dread to think what that D line would look like without him.
We would get hemorrhaged on the run.
You sure would. Special teams. This is very Rams dominated. Zerline at kicker, Hecker at punter, and Pharaoh Cooper at kick returner. I mean, kick returners bordering on meaningless these days.
Yeah, there wasn't many of those.
Yeah, Jamal Agnew, Detroit punt returner. I've got to be honest, I have no real opinion on the returners. And Buddha Baker of Zona as the special teamer. He has been exceptional in that regard. But yeah, pretty happy with these teams this year.
Yeah.
Shame not to see Gerald McCoy in there, but there were a lot of good interior linemen this year. I can't even complain about who made it over him.
I've never got the point of the Pro Bowl or the All Pro team, so
I don't put much stock in the Pro. In fact, I put no stock in the Pro Bowl, but the All Pro team I do. That's important, and that's also something that weighs heavily when it comes to getting guys into the Hall of Fame later. The Pro Bowl I don't think means too much. All Pro absolutely does.
Cool, but oh well.
But yes, we will move on to the games. So we'll do these ones in the order in which they are to be played. And I'll let you get us started, Arnie, since you guys are kicking off the weekend. As your Tennessee Titans just about managed to make it in on the final day.
Squeaked in.
Yeah, they'll be heading to one of the most difficult venues in the league, Arrowhead, to take on the Chiefs, who I guess, unfortunately, you as a Titans fan, seem to have gotten back into form after that gigantic blip they had in the middle of the season.
Just depends whether that gigantic blip comes back. I mean, we've beat KC at Arrowhead last year, so granted the team was a bit better.
Yeah, you did with a 4 seconds left field goal.
Yep, with Ryan Suckup magic 50-yarder.
The thing is, though,
I mean, with Derrick Henry out of this game, I mean, to be fair, the last game, I'm glad I read reports that Derrick Henry.
You mean DeMarco Murray being out of this game?
Yeah, that's the one. I was talking about the last game. Henry was split. I've heard that Henry was splitting carries with David Fullerton, and I was quite annoyed because it was just like he doesn't need to split carries. So I was happy to see that he didn't split carries. It's just unfortunate in the game that he had. But he still played better than DeMarco did. So
I don't know. He in terms of that particular game last week, there were not a lot of rushing lanes. I think he struggled.
No,
but
yeah,
no.
I'd say the O-line more struggled. I mean, you saw that there was a lot of time tried to make something out of nothing. It's just he got caught. But this game's just comes down to what it's come down to every single week for Tennessee. Can the offense finally get going?
Well, perhaps. It's a bit of a... In terms of the matchups, the Chiefs have been at their best, and I think this will be the real key to the game. The Chiefs have been at their best when Kareem Hunt has been able to consistently move the chains, open things up, himself in the passing game and for Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. However, the Titans, if they can hang their hat on one thing this year, it's they've been exceptional against the run. If they can hang their hat on one thing.
Yeah. We just haven't been very good at snuffing them.
Sorry, that cut out a little. Snuffing out
screen passes.
Yeah, which could be a problem because, by gosh, you know Andy Reid's going to have some of those planned for you, whether it's Kelce, whether it's Hill, or whether it's Kareem Hunt. There's probably going to be a design screen for all of those guys that's going to be used at some point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be a close... Game's close. I think it will come down to the final quarter. Obviously, I've still got us taking it.
Well, I mean, I want to sort of do a bit of a breakdown of kind of where we see the strengths and weaknesses of these teams, particularly against one another. I mean, my concern for Tennessee, I think the offensive matchup for the Chiefs is very interesting because this year the Chiefs have been very explosive in terms of downfield passing, which sounds bizarre to say. But Alex Smith was one of the best deep ball throwers in the league. The Titans, on the other hand, not great against the deep ball. I wonder how are they going to deal with Tyreek Hill? Is it just going to be a case of you double him all day?
The Titans will do what they did against.
Do they just have Adoree Jackson play him in man, or do they just try and zone it like they do traditionally?
Will do what they did against the Texans, where it's just like superstar
play soft,
soft man, superstar receiver who can outrun everyone. Yeah, let's just put one guy on and don't shade anyone over the top. Why did we lose, guys? I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a great plan. I mean, I just feel like they've got to have a plan in place because the Titans have been, I think, susceptible to misdirection plays, play action, screens, that kind of thing. And they're things that the Chiefs do very well and certainly have players that can punish you on the back end. They've struggled against tight ends off the play action pass. That's going to be tough. And I really think Tyreek Hill, they've got to have a plan for because I think the Titans aren't an explosive team. They've got to keep the score down. And I think the Chiefs get two massive plays in this game. One really big catch from Hill, one really big catch from Kelce, or one screen pass that gets away from them. If you get three big plays like that, I think the Chiefs will win this game.
It's quite funny, actually, because having a defense that can't deal with a screen play, going up against Andy, I love me some screens read, is...
Yeah, I love screens as much as I love chicken wings reads.
His screen passes have screen passes already in them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, on the other side, well, we're going to struggle no matter the matchup anyway.
Well, I mean, that's what makes it an interesting matchup because to me, the Chiefs' offense and the Titans' defense, that's for both teams. It's most likely.
I think the one thing
game will be decided.
I think the matchup that is very favourable for the Titans on offense this is Kansas against a scrambling quarterback, giving up a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns to scrambling quarterbacks this year. And they can't seem to contain the quarterbacks. And obviously, if Mariota gets outside that pocket, Mariota could have himself a big game running.
We've seen so little of it from them this year. I know we've seen a bit of an uptick in the last couple of weeks. But I just feel...
They're going to game plan for it.
But, I mean, if you're the Chiefs, I just feel they're probably going to go in with their standard game plan. I really don't think they'll mix things up too much. Might be a bit less run-heavy than we normally see. But they'll still try and keep it established. Because they'll want that play-action game.
I think it's exactly...
If you're Dick LeBeau, how do you draw things up to stop this Chiefs team?
I think it's just as Delaney Walker backyard football that the Titans are going to have to play. They're going to have to play dirty football to stop this team.
And if you're...
And it's true.
And if you're...
We've got to catch them off guard. We've got to completely catch them off guard and get them in man. Yeah, we've got to throw a lot of weird stuff at them that is going to work effective with screens and stuff like that. Because if we throw off that, I think we'll be able to catch Alex Smith off guard, and I think we might be playing a turnover.
Alternatively, pray.
I think what the Titans have to do is actually play a fairly conservative game plan, rather than being as aggressive as they have been with the blitz. I think they've got to put more trust in their line's ability to generate pressure without having to commit too many extra guys. Now, of course, you want to have those blitzes sprinkled in because it's what the team does. But I think if they go into this approach, Andy Reid will be more than happy to take these long, ugly, slow drives, thinking and dunking down the field, because it's Andy Reid and that's what he wants. That's how he rolls. I think you play it that way and just hope that there will be mistakes. Now, Smith might not make them. It might have to be fumbles. It might be penalties. It might be getting some sacks. But I think that's the approach you've got to take, because I feel Smith is difficult to blitz. We've seen this year he's willing to run. He's very good with the checkdowns, and they've got players that can burn you just in one-on-one man coverage when you're blitzing. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, these are guys that the Titans do not match up well with at all in one-on-one
And you're not
going
to get him to make a mistake.
No,
this is the other problem.
The thing is as well, where the Titans have struggled this year is getting a quarterback outside of the pocket. Like when we faced the Seahawks, for example, we managed to get Russell Wilson outside the pocket, because we bring that much pressure on him.
Yeah,
but it's the corners and the safeties keeping in the play and not letting the receivers get open. We let the receivers get open on those broken plays. That's where we've struggled a lot.
But that's because you're bringing so many guys. I think in this game, play a fairly soft, conservative sort of scheme and force the Chiefs to, be efficient. If you can keep the run stopped with that style, I think there'll be opportunities to make big plays. And, you want this to be a slow, low-scoring game. I just think if it's not worth the risk against this team, because with Alex Smith and Andy Reid, I just think they'll have a plan for a lot of these blitzes. And I think they'd have to be used sporadically. I think they Tennessee use their normal sort of game plan. In this one, I think the Chiefs will pick them apart. So we'll switch things over to the other side of the ball. And the Titans' offense this year, we've been highly critical of them, particularly the coaching staff.
Yeah, it's it.
They just don't. It feels to me like they don't really have an identity at all this year.
This is one of the things that
a solid offensive line.
This is one of the things I was hoping we would get onto, and I'm pretty sure Arnie agrees with me. Might agree with me on this. If they don't let Mario mix it up and run the no huddle sporadically throughout the game, Titans lose. Because without Mario there, I've seen. I'm not sure if it was the Jags game or the game before. There was an article detailing. Oh no, it's the Niners game. Yeah, there was an article detailing how when Mario is running the no huddle, the Titans have been proven harder to defend against because it's unpredictable. They don't know what they're doing. The middle they start huddling up.
It's still not been enormously productive though, because I have seen a lot of these articles. They've been so much better than that.
Yeah,
but slightly,
maybe,
but I haven't.
Slightly is better than massively predictable when they're huddling. I mean, the Titans are the most predictable offensive team in football when they're huddling. It's ridiculous.
I'd say the Buccaneers would like to have a word.
But the difference is the Buccaneers.
Well, I know where you're coming from, because if you're looking at scoring and yardage, I mean, when we're running the no huddle offense, I think over the past, it was like 4 games. I think we were averaging. I think it was something like 150 yards.
I'm not even going by stats. I'm going by what I saw on film, and I didn't see much improvement. Like they don't look.
There was a lot more improvement in the no huddle. A lot more. Every drive that's in the no huddle.
I saw a team that still couldn't run. I saw a team that still couldn't get guys open. And these are things, huddle or not, it doesn't make a difference.
But we don't run the ball.
Guys aren't winning one-on-one matchups is the problem.
Yeah.
The run blocking.
We haven't been running the football in the no-huddle offense. That's the difference. We've been passing the ball in the no-huddle offense. The way Mariota's yards come from every game is the no-huddle offense. The rest of it doesn't come from anywhere because the game plan isn't working for it. The no-huddle is where the yards have come from.
Well,
and where the points have come from. All of our scoring drives have all been on no-huddle offenses in the last 4 games. Every single one of them.
It's not a lot of scoring drives.
But it's more than when we're huddling. Actually, it's a lot more.
I don't think this team looks any more impressive to me in these last few weeks offensively. And I don't put the blame necessarily on Mariota, or I don't think it's anything to do with huddling or not. It's simply, I think there's a bit of a talent problem. I think there's certainly a problem in the disconnect between these players and the coaches. And I think this week, they just have to get that sorted. If you've got players going out there on a weekly basis and they've convinced themselves that this scheme isn't going to work, that's when you get players freelancing. And that's
what they've been doing. And you can see it.
How many interceptions does Mariota have this year? By far the most of his career. He'd been very careful his first 2 years. This year, near the top of the league. And I think that's the biggest issue this team's got.
But the thing is, I think a lot of those picks, and a lot of those is miscommunication between Mariota and receivers.
Yeah, and what's miscommunication come from? Guys freelancing.
Yeah.
Guys thinking, well...
I mean, with the no huddle, I'm not saying...
And then the quarterback's expecting one thing, the receiver's doing another. I often think that's where that kind of thing comes from.
That's the thing, with the no huddle thing coming from it. I'm not saying we're a good offense with the no huddle. I'm just saying it's better than what it has been. It's still a bad offense, but it's definitely an improvement of some sort. We're gaining more points and yardage from no huddle than we.
Is that something you want to do at Arrowhead, though?
No, but that's the thing. We can't. This is the problem I've got. Is I don't want to sit there and run the no huddle all the time because, well, one, teams are going to catch on to it, and two, what's the point? The Tennessee have done a great job in the last couple of years of chewing up clock. We haven't done that this year because we can't get the run game going and we're constantly having to go no huddle. We need to chew up the clock more and be able to get the run game going to win games.
You need to get the crowd out of this one as well. And yeah I think the no huddle, especially early in this one, or if the Chiefs get on a bit of a roll, I think you have to throw the no huddle out the window at that point because in that stadium, the ability to communicate at the line, I'm not trusting it enough. I think
especially in the playoffs.
But I mean, if we look at the matchups, and if we look at the individual matchups, though, the Chiefs' defense, whilst we've been ripping on the Titans' offense pretty much all year, the Chiefs' defense has been pretty poor for the most part, particularly in the secondary. So, I mean, if we break down the matchups, I mean, the offensive line for the Titans has been a bit of a letdown this year, but they're not been horrible. They don't have an easy match. I look at the Chiefs, though, and I don't think their pass rushers look healthy to me. There's no juice there. Justin Houston has slowed right down after a really hot start this year. I think if they can deal with Jones in the middle, I think there's certainly an opportunity for Mariota to have a lot of time. And when you look at these Chiefs defenders, basically just don't throw near Marcus Peters unless he's clearly beaten, and they should be all right in the passing game. Frankly, I mean, I would be massively concerned for the Titans, their long-term prospects at the moment, because, I mean, they got so little going for them defensively. They haven't been able to slow down anyone's passing game. So just don't throw at Peters. That would be my key. Run the ball. Don't throw at Peters. Play it short. I think they should be okay.
Bollocks, I say.
What do you guys want to
Titans going to lose this massively. They're playing the Chiefs at home in the playoffs at Arrowhead. No.
We've been anyway.
You're not buying it.
What teams would you reliably could play in that stadium and still pull off? I mean, we're talking some of the greats of all time.
It's not. I think that's a factor for me. I have a lot more trust in the key areas that you need to have to win a game. Coaching and quarterback play, as well as that home field advantage. I mean, I've got to give it to the Chiefs. It's just Mariota, I think there's a possibility of there being some communication issues. Alex Smith isn't going to give this game away.
This is basically how this matchup breaks down. It's Arrowhead Stadium versus Rubitsky.
I think that's too simplistic. I'm putting my faith in Andy Reid and Alex Smith.
You can't put it down to that. We had Rubitsky last, and we won at Arrowhead. And that was in December. It was still in December we won, and it was an icy cold.
Hold on. Playoffs this is a different ball game now. This isn't regular season nonsense. This is a different ball game. No, it's not happening.
I think this will be a tight game, but I think the Chiefs have just got that explosiveness to them. Titans, I think they make a couple of big mistakes. Chiefs come out winners here.
Obviously,
I'd like the Titans to win, but at the same time, I mean, of all.
So how do you envision it happening, though? That's the key.
Chiefs get up 10 points early in the first quarter. Titans struggle to claw points back. Can never make up the deficit.
That's reasonable. Arnie, what would be your vision of the 4 quarters playing out?
The same as the Tennessee have done all year. Close going get going in the third and fourth quarter and slowly close out the game in the drive.
So it'll be containing the Chiefs.
Yeah, we're going to do what we've done apart from the 2 blowout games.
Fair enough. Well, we'll move on to the second of Saturday night's games. And for me, this is probably the matchup I'm looking... Oh, I don't know, actually. Both the NFC games are really good. But I'm looking forward to this one a lot. I've got the Falcons, much like the Titans, scraped in on the final day. Didn't even need the win, but they got it in the end. Heading to the Rams. I mean, the thing for me here... I think the Rams, you've got a lot of the same concerns maybe that you sort of hinted at with Tennessee. It's a team with no playoff experience whatsoever. A young quarterback, a very new head coach, and the Falcons, they're coming off of a Super Bowl loss. Like, they know what this playoff malarkey is all about. Matt Ryan's had plenty of playoff appearances at this point. I mean, because the Rams this year have been a better team than the Falcons in every way. I think we can pretty much agree on that.
Yeah.
It's crazy there's only a 1-game difference in the win-loss record. So, just your quick sort of thoughts on this one as a matchup. So I think this one's really fascinating just from that perspective.
I don't think it's that.
It's just going to be a game revolved around running the football. I mean, well, we know that they're going to use Gurley through the passing game and running game and through any sort of aspect they can use. And then they're kind of throwing the odd receiver here and there. I mean, we know how the Rams are going to play. They've always played really hot on their first drive and it kind of slows down for the rest of the game and then they might put the game away. But with the Falcons side of the things, you don't know what team is going to turn up on offense because it's just they've been so inconsistent all year.
The Falcons are good on offense when this run game is going. And that would be the biggest question for me heading into this one. The Rams, I think the Rams' offense looks a lot like what Atlanta's did last year. You've got Gurley doing everything, whilst the Falcons are doing it with 2 guys. Gurley's talented enough that he's got the skill set of both Tevin Coleman and Devonta Freeman. You have a quarterback that's making the right reads. He's not played at the same level Ryan did last year, but he's seeing the field well, and when he's protected, he's throwing it accurately, allowing guys to get yards after the catch. The Rams are the most yak-heavy team in the league, I think. Yeah. I've not looked at the stats, but the NFC, that's what my eyes tell me. Is this is a team that doesn't necessarily throw the ball deep, It's getting guys open by design into the open field and letting them get yards. And you've got a lot of guys that are very effective in that. Gurley, we've seen, can be a great dynamic receiving back. Cooper Kupp is a stud there in the slot. Sammy Watkins can take the top off the defense. His presence alone helps this offense massively, even if he's not necessarily a huge contributor. So they've got quite a lot of balance there. What they struggle with, and this will be for me the key factor in whether the Falcons can slow them down, is that Goff still doesn't convince me at all when he's under pressure.
No.
And that's a difficult situation because the Rams O-line has been one of the best in the league all year. I've seen some cracks there in the last few weeks, but the Falcons' pass rush blows hot and cold. So that's going to be very interesting. I mean, the Falcons, we know what they're going to do defensively. It's going to be a lot of 2 deep, 3 deep zone type plays. Mixing up with a little bit of man underneath. Trufant's going to probably end up moving around the field with Watkins. Or possibly Woods, because Woods has been a more effective player, but I think it'd have to be Watkins. But do they bring a bit more heat? Do you think the Falcons will be perhaps a bit more willing to blitz in this one? Perhaps thinking they've got to get to Jared Goff?
I don't think they will. Because when you blitz Jared Goff with Gurley out in the screenplays, I mean, you saw what happened with Tennessee. The yards after the catch with Gurley can just kill you when you blitz them. And for that reason, I think the Rams can capitalize.
I don't see how the Falcons win this.
Well, if you go and by your kind of average weekly performance, it's difficult to see it. But I can certainly see a situation where the Rams maybe come out a bit nervy and a bit on edge, maybe make a couple of early mistakes. And Atlanta's offense, there have been some games this year where they do get going. And in order for the Falcons to win this game, as I suggested earlier, this run game, Devonta Freeman's going to have a good game. Now, he has looked really good since he came back from injury these last 2-3 weeks. However, I just have very little faith in the receivers for the Falcons because they've been a major weakness this year. Matt Ryan hasn't quite been on it. He's had an average season at best. Off target a fair bit. But the receivers, they make mistakes. They've had a ton of drops all year long. It just doesn't look like a confident flowing offense to me. The Rams defensively, they're not great. They've got some talent there. Of course, Aaron Donald is the guy you've got to be able to handle because he can wreck your whole game plan. But if they can deal with him, I like the matchups that the Falcons have on the offensive side. It's just how do they approach it? I think if you're the Rams, I think you just dare them to throw. I think you take away this run game, play effective contain because both Freeman and Coleman are very good at getting outside, and this Falcons team are great at that stretch play. I think if you can stop that, force Ryan and these receivers to basically do what they've not been able to do all year and be efficient, accurate, and get open. I feel like that if that happens and the Rams just do their thing offensively, because the Falcons, for me, they can only slow them down and contain them. This Rams team is going to score some points in this one. Can the Falcons keep up? And I don't think that they'll be able to in that scenario.
I think what's going to happen is Rams going to go up early. That Rams defense is better than the entire Falcons team put together, and the Falcons lose because they have no defense. They have a 2-man offense and a running back. I don't see the Falcons being even remotely competitive in this.
Man, you
No,
were singing the
Let's get something
praises
straight.
of the
If the
Falcons.
Falcons were facing any other team that's not the Rams, I would pick the Falcons. But they're facing the Rams.
So they're a really bad team, based on your assessment just
they
there.
match up badly against this Rams team. Saints or the Panthers, even match up. But no, not this Rams team. And I know this whole playoff nerves and whatnot. I don't think that's even going to come into play. They're playing at home. You know, they've got the most impressive record coming off a losing season I've ever seen. So no, I mean, no, I think the Falcons are done here. They can't combat the defense. The offense is anemic at best, and the Rams are just hot. So
fair enough, Arnie.
I think the Rams win this game, but I think the playoff implications will come into effect. I think they will struggle keeping up with a team that knows the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they get off to a slow start, but the Falcons struggle to really get too much of a foothold. Rams setting things, and then
late in the game, I can't see the Falcons attaining. Early on, yeah, but not late in the game.
Yeah. So that's it for Saturday's slate. So we've all got the Rams. A couple of us have the Chiefs. The next one, I think, is probably the hardest matchup to call. And some could certainly argue the worst game of the weekend. However, I'm happy to see a couple of the real bad teams of recent years actually in the playoffs. So we got Buffalo, and great celebrations from Buffalo. They're making the playoffs last week. Heading to Jacksonville to take on the Jags. What are our first thoughts on this one?
Buffalo wins.
Jags are slumping.
Buffalo wins. The miracle is real. Woo!
I just think that this builds enthusiasm and everything with it right now that I think they will take this game, and LeSean McCoy definitely playing in this game.
Yeah. How healthy he is, I'm not so sure, but
yeah, I mean, the Jags defense has still been stout even when they've been losing games, but this Jags offense, I mean, I can't see them putting up many points against Buffalo. And the Jags have done a great job of getting these turnovers to win games, but they're facing one of the stingiest teams when it comes to getting turnovers.
Well, this one's the simplest matchup in a lot of ways. You're looking at two solid defensive teams. I think an excellent defensive team in Jacksonville that both rely heavily on their running back, and they both have a quarterback who generally, if they don't turn it over, the team does quite well. And it's kind of one with you guys. I think if you're Buffalo, you know what their game plan is. Tyrod Taylor's going to take next to no chances, and they're going to hope for the love of God that LeSean McCoy goes nuts and carries the offense like he usually does. Especially the passing game. I just cannot see Tyrod Taylor having success against this Jags team.
No, but I think the more question was, I don't see Jags pulling out a turnover to win this game like they've done all year. I just can't see the Jags winning this game. I think they're too much in the slump, and I don't think they'll be able to get out of their own way.
Well,
I believe.
I believe.
It's too fantastical a story for it to end at the first hurdle.
It depends how healthy LeSean McCoy is. If he can go and he's fine, then I would give them the edge in this one. But if he is not, how are they going to score points? That you're relying on Blake Bortles having one of his bad games. And
the funny thing is, that's actually a reasonable strategy against Jacksonville as well. Just like, what are we going to do? We're going to game plan? No, we could just... No, just wait for Bortles to make an inevitable mistake. He's played, 2 clean games this year?
More than that. He had a nice little stretch of about 4 or 5 games where he was playing clean football. I mean, that's the thing, though. I think the Jags will be just as conservative. I mean, this could set a record for run plays in a playoff game since, like, the 80s. Possibly all time. We might not see any passing.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, and the Bills haven't always been good against the run. Fournette, again, I don't know how healthy he is. I've got more trust in Taylor's ability to protect the ball than Bortles, of course. I'm going to edge with the Bills winning this on the basis that LaShawn McCoy, whoever's got the healthier running back, I think will win this. I really do. I think the Bills D has the edge in some ways. I think they're not as good against the run as the Jags, but I think defensively they're very opportunistic. They're great at getting turnovers. And with Bortles' penchant for giveaways, that gives them a real edge in this one if there is going to be much passing involved. But I think Tyrod Taylor's ability to run and his mobility are the difference maker here. What's going to be an ugly, run-heavy game.
No.
I just think that's an edge.
This game is going to be glorious.
And it will, because the Bills' uniforms are involved.
This is a game I'm actually really looking forward to, because I want the Bills to somehow get to the championship game.
That would mean them beating the Patriots in
no, because what's going to happen, they'll go to New England, and it would have snowed because of the blizzard, and they have LaShawn McCoy, who is Snow Jesus.
Well, we will see. How about you guys? What's your thoughts on how this one runs?
I've got the Bills taking this one. I think we saw with Mariota last week the struggle to contain the quarterback outside the pocket. I see the same thing with Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That's actually so. Thanks, Arnie. That actually skipped by me. Yeah, Tyrod Taylor's a bit more.
What do you mean? I was the one who just said that. That was my whole point.
And that's what I was agreeing on.
Arnie was echoing my sentiment.
But no, that hadn't entered my mind. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, no, Bills win this easily. Jacksonville suck.
Yeah. I feel like you've got a bit of vendetta against the Jags. Is it because Campbell plays for them now? Well, makes sense. And finally, divisional game. 3 NFC South teams. Sad to see. But we've got Carolina heading to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Both these teams coming off of losses last. And it just we kind of know what to expect from these teams. In some ways, I mean, I say that with the Carolina offense. I mean, idea. What Cam turns up. That's the biggest factor in this game.
It's not what Cam turns up. It's what happens when they inevitably go down in points, because the Panthers average 7 points a half this year. Is what the problem with the Panthers is they've barely scored more than 13 points in close games that they've won, and they're facing the Saints.
The Saints haven't been an offensive juggernaut this year, though.
Drew Brees, Kamara, and Sean Payton more than Cam Newton. I don't see how Carolina are going to score more than 13 points with that offense that they have.
I mean, you just never know. There's been some games this year where this offense looks unstoppable. Cam Newton just turns up and has one of his days where he rushes for nearly 100 yards and he's making pinpoint throws all day long. If he has that game, I think the Panthers win this one. Their defense is top notch. The Saints they're a run team this year that can pass the ball very effectively as well. But I will say, I do have a bit of a concern with how the Panthers' defense has played recently.
At the Superdome, no.
I think it's somewhat less significant when you're talking about teams in the division. Not like the Panthers know what they're letting themselves in for in the Superdome.
Wait, hold on. This is a divisional rival in the playoffs in the Superdome. They may know what they're letting themselves in for, but it's going to be 100 times worse than usual.
Nah, it's always pretty bad in the Superdome. It doesn't matter when it is. They're loud. They loud. I mean, I do favour the Saints here. I really don't like Carolina's offense at all. More often than not, they can't run the ball. They're not particularly explosive at the receiver position. But Greg Olsen has really solidified things because he's really good. If the Saints can cover him, that will help. Because he is Cam Newton's security blanket. But then, Carolina's defense is very good. They can get a hell of a lot of pressure. They're one of the best pass rush teams in the league, especially with just the front four doing it. They're tough to run on. They're just a good all-round unit, even if they've not played as well recently. It's my primary concern for them. But then, the Saints, they're so well balanced, and you can argue that about both sides of the ball. The Saints might be the most complete team in the playoffs, frankly.
Yeah.
In terms of the way they've played this year. I mean, you have to give the edge to the Saints. They're a really solid all-round team. You've got some players having incredible seasons in Cam Jordan, Lattimore, Kamara. That Kamara-Ingram pairing's really good. The Stewart and McCaffrey pairing is... I mean, that's what people were expecting that to be this year. But it's not worked out that way. And that's why I give the edge to the Saints. I just think they're a more predictable team. This Carolina team, anyone on its day, but I don't know when that day is, and I'm going to guess it's not Sunday. I think the Saints will win this one. I think it'll be close, but I just trust Drew Brees.
I just think the Saints' offense is more explosive, and I don't trust that Carolina offense at all.
Yeah, I just don't know. It could be bad Cam that turns up.
Exactly.
How about you, Dan? You made it pretty
100%.
clear you're on the Saints for this one as well. Fair enough. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good way to end the weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, that's it. That's Wildcard weekend. It's just, I'm looking at it now and seeing the Rams, the Bills, and the Jags in the playoffs. None of us predicted these teams being there.
I had the Rams as my dark horse. I said they'd make the playoffs.
Oh, you did.
And obviously we both had Tennessee.
Pretty sure.
You did not. No, you didn't. You said there was no chance in hell the Rams made the playoffs. You said they have a good year, but didn't make the playoffs. Get off. No,
I might. No, none of us picked the Bills at first.
Oh,
How
yeah,
could you?
no.
We were all, like most of the world, who were very wrong, going, the Bills are tanking this year.
Yeah.
Like, 99% of the
no,
internet.
I had Tennessee as my dark horse team, because I actually believe that offense could do something this year. Whoops.
Yeah. And before I do the finishing up thing, I have seen, as you put here, the not only have they hired John Gruden, they've given him a 10-year contract. I don't think I've ever seen one of those.
No.
It's just like Dr. Evil, isn't it? Oh no, he only ever wanted $1 million. $100 million.
I'm sorry, and
it's not so much the amount. Like $10 million a year is a lot for a coach. But hold on. This isn't the 10 years like that.
$100 million is the highest any coach has ever been paid in the NFL. Secondly,
Yeah, because no one's ever got a 10-year contract. That's
how does this not support what I said earlier about the move to Las Vegas?
Does anyone believe he's actually going to
no.
make the whole 10 years there?
No.
What time restraint are you giving him?
Well, this comes down to whether he's successful or not.
Let's just go on what the Raiders are like now. And
6 years seems like a standard kind of length of time.
What happens?
I'll go in the middle. I'm going to go 5.
2 seasons, they start stinking it up.
Well, that's the thing. It's a hell of a lot of money to leave yourself on the hook for. That's why you don't get contracts.
We've seen, let's face it, we've seen with the Browns this year, it doesn't matter about how many games you win.
That is true.
Yep.
Guy's won 1 game in 2 years. He's 1-30.
No. But the
he still has a job.
A Raiders franchise that's moving to a massive media market. This is the difference. The Browns are still in the middle of buttfuck nowhere.
It's weird with
massive media market with the
massive. It's a big media market. It's not a massive population,
but a massive media market with the massive media code.
Yeah, that's what
they're doing. They're just creating the headlines.
That's exactly what I.
They're a headline dice.
This is a very successful coach. He's got a very good win-loss record in the NFL.
Yeah, but when was the last time he coached?
Like, it's not like they're just bringing in.
And it was a different game back then.
10 years ago. Not enormously,
but he's still been in the game. Let's be fair. He still knows
probably a bit different,
the game, the changes, and everything.
Studying the film and stuff to going back to dealing with all the players and stuff. I mean, hopefully he.
He still does.
I don't think the difference is that significant, to be honest.
He still does that.
Either way, I'm sorry. 10 years smacks of desperation to me. It really does.
Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a fairly unprecedented situation.
It was always going to take a lot of money to get him out of the booth. Face it.
I think if Tampa had been looking, it might not have cost as much because it just simply wouldn't have been as much work for him.
Yeah, he's down the road.
Yeah, as I hinted in that earlier episode with Tampa, it's just it's down the road, and it's the most recent job that he's had. I think it'd been a bit easier, and it's a pretty low pressure job there in Tampa as far as a NFL head coaching gig goes. Wouldn't be not as in the spotlight as he is, heading back to Oakland. Either way, it's a big story, and I'm glad to see him back in the league. He's a character.
But I have just found the best story of the week.
Oh yeah,
the Bills sent thank you chicken wings to the Bengals.
Kept their promise.
Yeah, they did, and the Bills fans are raising all that money for Andy Dalton's charity as well.
Yeah.
No one say Bills fans do not appreciate it when you break their playoff drought.
I mean, the Bengals didn't make the playoffs, but damn, they got some good chicken wings.
I suppose there is one.
I'm sure they probably were. And Andy Dalton will never have to buy himself a beer in Buffalo ever again.
No. I suppose the Bengals need the chicken wings while they watch the games.
I mean, I was going to say actually quickly with the Gruden thing. I suppose there is one other advantage to him being hired as a coach again. Oh, and he doesn't have to suffer through him on ESPN anymore.
I just have to suffer through him this one last time.
Just you wait as they bring in someone worse.
But apparently, there's a report saying that Gruden is assembling the most expensive coaching staff ever in football history.
Yeah, it'll just be somewhat similar to the old Bucs coaching staff, I reckon. From what I hear, he's looking to get Rod Marinelli over Rich Bisaccia. Might be tough to get Marinelli to come over from Dallas, though. But who knows?
Man, the Raiders need to be careful. They thought the expectations were high this year.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they might be somewhat lower than they were heading into this year. They're still going to be high, but heading into this year, most people
are going to have them as a Super Bowl contender because Gruden's gone back there. No. Most of the sports media will. You know this to be true. I am willing to bet right now.
Right. The Raiders were not. If the Raiders go crazy in free agency, then maybe.
They won't have any money left
so far. Yeah.
Ugh. Well, that said, I do want to wrap up with one more thing before we go. All of the QBs are declaring for the draft.
Yeah.
Just because this is relevant. This makes this potentially the most stacked quarterback class in years. There are probably going to be about 4 or 5 guys that you could see going around the top sort of 15, 16 picks. So this is great news for the Bucks picking at number 7. Let's have people trade up for those QBs.
Yeah, there was rumours out that the Jets would trade up as well. So I'm guessing you're looking at Barkley right now.
Me? No, Barkley would be nice if he got there. I still don't think he would. I'm looking at Chubb and Arden Key. They're the 2 guys I want. Either one would be fine. I want a pass rusher. I really like those 2 guys. I think they're the 2 best defensive players in the draft at this point. Not that I've watched an enormous amount, but I've watched all of the consensus top prospects. I do believe the 2 defensive ends are the 2 best players. They fit the Buccaneers' needs perfectly. So,
yeah, I mean, for the first time in 8 years, we've got ourselves quite a late draft pick. So, I don't know where we'll be going.
I still feel like you guys need a linebacker. There's a couple of D linemen I really
middle. I'd like a middle linebacker.
By the way, Arnie, don't watch those tackles that are coming out this year in the draft because they probably won't fall to you, and you don't want to make yourself sad.
Oh,
because you got Vita Vea of Washington and Ron Payne of Alabama, and they're both enormous.
We do need one. I do see ourselves stacking up that line.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm telling you. Don't watch them. You'll just get your hopes up and then get sad. Because they won't make it for you guys. Although they might, if you guys get knocked out this weekend, you might have a shot at one of them.
We'll see. No, we won't.
Nah, 2 years in a row. Can't see it.
No, that's free agency.
Yeah.
There's a lot of receivers in free agency.
Ugh. Yeah, that's it for this. So, Wildcard weekend. Arnie, your first ever playoff game as a fan, you're looking forward?
I am. I'm assuming it's going to be a whole new experience. I mean, I get angry during games normally. This is going to be a different level.
It is. It is.
A lot of alcohol will consume during the game.
Yeah, just don't throw things and try not to chain smoke. That's my recommendation.
I do both of those things normally, so
well,
I'm pretty sure that's how my phone blows as well. So.
Yeah. Congrats to your Titans for making it, and we'll see how they get on. Me, I'm rooting for the Bills to go all the way. Damn it, Buffalo Super Bowl.
Well, we live in the UK. We all love an underdog.
I'm not confident in it happening, but go Bills.
As I said, we live in the UK. We always root for the underdog.
And Dan, you don't have a horse in this playoff race.
I thought I already made this clear. I'm rooting for... Yeah, I've got
you're
Bills
a believer as well.
Bills Vikings Super Bowl.
I hope that is the Super Bowl because then I won't mind you.
Yeah, it'd be a great Super Bowl.
That would be weird, me watching a Super Bowl and actually not minding who wins.
Who are your Super Bowl
Vikings,
predictions?
Bills.
While we're at the beginning of the playoffs.
My prediction is Vikes Patriots.
Mine is Saints.
Oh,
Steelers.
did you want realistic prediction?
That'd be a good one.
Oh, I've got Vikings.
Yes.
Yes. But I just think the Saints and the Steelers will go.
Hey, that would be a good game. I'd like.
And if I'm not mistaken, is that not a rematch game?
No.
No, it's not. I'm thinking of Steelers Green Bay. Sorry.
Yeah, it was Saints Colts.
That's the one. Yeah.
Saints made it. So there we go. That's our thoughts on Wildcard weekend. Thank you guys very much for tuning in to this episode. We'll be back early next week to discuss the outcomes of these games and then talk about the upcoming slate of games later on in the week. So all that, along with any kind of news updates, as I guess there probably won't be any coaches named other than Gruden. But
probably not.
I'm sure there will be a lot of news on guys visiting with teams and retirements and whatnot else. So it should be good. As always, thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure. Have a great evening. And go back.